and welcome back to On the Road video vlog
For October.
for October. Who wants to start us off?
When last we left off, Dean, I think, he was in Denver, still making his way across to the west. South, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And we read up to where he's now just starting to begin his second journey,
Yeah.
part 2.
Okay. Well, as Stephanie mentioned on the vlog, Sal, he was very successful in his life at the point when Dean comes back into his life. He hadn't seen Dean for a year. He was in school. He was doing all these
He
things.
finished his
was
book. Yeah,
successful.
he had a steady girlfriend, and it's like Dean is gonna come and mess up his life again. He's a really bad influence on him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to roll back to where we did start off, which was that we started off when he was in San Francisco, and he was with Frenchman, the guy's
Remy.
name. Remy Bonacier or something like that, and his wife. Well, not wife, but his girlfriend. So he's living with them, and he does end up having a stable life. He does get a job. He does, quote unquote, settle down for over a week in time. That's it. Which is a lot for this guy, for whatever reason, because he wants to keep moving. And so he ends up kind of becoming depressed with himself the longer he stays there and begins hating the West, in a sense, that he doesn't view it as gloriously as he used to.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that when he's in the East, he loves the West, and when he's in the West, he starts looking back and he wants to go backwards. And so you feel like he doesn't really know what he wants. He thinks that he wants the West, but in reality, what he just wants is change. He wants to be on the road.
Well, he goes through these cycles. He goes and he's stable in New York, and then he goes and he leaves to the West, and then he's stable in San Francisco for a while, but he leaves again. And then when he's with Terry, he's really stable for a long time.
Yeah,
He has almost a family, but then he has to leave again, and then he's stable again, and now it looks like we're gonna go on a crazy adventure.
He's a very dependent character. He needs others to provide him with food and places to stay because he does not stay still enough to
But
have
he
a
is
steady
capable
income.
of providing for himself. It's just that he chooses not to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I think that's why with Terry, he was with her for so long because they were on the road together and they were traveling around and things were constantly changing. And he did settle down and get a job, but he ran out of money and it wasn't enough income to provide for Terry and Johnny. But as soon as she went back to her family and actually settled down, he left again.
The other thing that Stephanie mentioned, the family, which I thought it was really important that when he does begin his second journey, it's that Dean and all the community Dean hangs out with kind of becomes his nuclear family, in a sense that they're replacing his actual family. For example, Sal is down in Virginia for his biological family. He's visiting his brother on Christmas to present presents. And when he finds Dean and all, they bring him away from his family, which shows that even though he doesn't have needing a community of some sort, as shown by his attention to Terry and his attachment to other people when he was riding up to Denver, and his attachment to all the different travelers, his biological family can kind of get ignored and replaced with these other families, in a sense.
And it does kind of beg the question of whether the author, Jack Kerouac, if he's trying to say that, Dean and the replacement family is ruining his life and causing all these problems, or if that's really the kind of thing that he wants, that he suggests that Sal should have, that is his ideal life, is being on the road and away from all these people that he knows.
Yeah, I think Kerouac is kind of trying to make the reader sort of give up their judgments, because we're judging Dean, and when we say, oh, Dean's a bad friend or whatever, we're judging him, but I wonder if Kerouac actually wants us to think, you can be successful this way too,
Because a lot of stuff on the blog is oh yeah, he's happy, but we're judging happy by our own standards of he has a stable life, but that might not be what he wants.
Well, I mean, you're really on point that by our standards, he really isn't happy. Even though he doesn't have personal enjoyment from his travel, he doesn't end up making money. He has to call his grandmother to give him $50 so he can buy a ticket to get out of Denver and then to get back into Los Angeles from wherever he was. He has to get money, I think, 3 times in total, which each of these 3 times represents a time that he's kind of failed in his voyage. And even on the way back, when he's on his way back, he doesn't have enough money to get all the way back to New York. He only has enough money to get back to Chicago, I believe, So then he has to be a hobo for the last. No, he isn't. That's the term he's called by the like passerbys. They call him a hobo, and he walks with the hobo.
He
and
embraced it.
yeah, and he embraced it, and then he ends up talking to this old military veteran from World War I, and that's when he sees the East as the mystical land that he once saw the West as.
Also, like, I think by that end of his first journey, he is ready to go home. He's tired of the dirty, like, he hasn't showered, he hasn't been in a real home, he hasn't eaten for like 3 weeks or something, and he's just ready for the comfort and luxury of
He does
his
get
mom's
happiness
house.
from that life, but you feel like he's kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
He's done what he can do for now, and maybe he'll try again later. But for now, he just wants to go back home.
Yeah.
He's constantly burning and spilling on fire. That's why he has to keep moving, because that's what reinvigorates his spirit and quote unquote the American spirit that he's trying to connect with.
There's a difference between him and Dean, because Dean, you feel like he never stops doing it. He was just like, he doesn't even know when he has time to sleep because he never stops doing it. And so while Sal, he at least in the beginning, he sees that as something he wants to be like, he's not, even if he wants to be, and that might come into play later on.
And I think Kerouac definitely, he wants to focus on the stuff that's on the road. I mean, the book is called On the Road, but when the part 2 opens and we're talking about, how he's stable now, we actually don't see that. It's just like, we're told about that. So definitely all the action comes, so it's the focus, yeah.
Like, even though he apparently is stable, like for example, Dean has his family now, he has his family back in San Francisco, he can even drop that in a moment. Like, he just got married, just had a baby girl, and he's already leaving, and even, quote unquote, hooks up back with Marilu again. So to him, connections like that are completely worthless. So, like, his stability is
I wouldn't say worthless, just like, he can let
destroy
go
them.
of them, yeah.
Whereas
Like,
Sal,
he enjoys the time while he's there, but at the end of it, he's like, okay, I'm gonna go do this. And I think he is a very unstable character. He is restless. He doesn't, like, he's described as constantly moving, trying to do everything at one time. And I think that's what he's doing with his life also, like, trying to pack everything into this small moment, because he probably realized that, like, his settled down life, he's not, like, as crazy as he was before. He probably, like, feels like he's losing his youth.
I think he's also an insecure character because I think he's afraid that he'll fail, so he runs away before he can. And if he has this whole persona, then he can sort of hide behind it. I think he's scary.
and then you've got the difference with Sal. He seems pretty genuine. And then the part when he's talking about his girlfriend and how he says, I want to marry her. I can't do this forever. Even though I like it, I can't.
So,
8 minutes.
Yep.
Amina?
well, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Until next time.